call, please, Terry.
Legislator Brennan has been excused. Chartran?
Here.
Dahlhoff?
Here.
Legislator Fawcett has been excused. Hathaway?
Here.
King?
Here.
Coulter?
Here.
Marhan? Here. Legislator Mosier has been excused. Taball?
Here. Everyone, please rise and let me invocation. Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessing upon the budget that has been prepared. We trust that it is fair and hope that it solves the basic problems of our community. We pray for all the trouble that's going on in our world and pray that people will start giving respect to our Maker. And pray that an end to all the commotion and violence that goes on in our country and the world. Amen. Pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for Rule 6.
Need a motion from Larry.
Motion by Larry,
I'd like to make a motion to waive the rules to allow action on late resolutions. Second.
second by Dick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now at this time, we will open public hearing for comments on number 1, our tentative 2018 county budget. Number 2 is the local law overriding the tax levy limit established by the municipal law section 3 for the Lewis County budget. And number 3, to grant a waiver for conflict of interest between Snowbelt Housing Vice Chairman and eligible rehab grant recipient. Now, does anyone from the public have any comment at this time regarding any of the 3 topics? Cheryl?
Hi, thank you. Snowbelt Housing administers a community development block grant on behalf of Lewis County, as you know. The program provides housing rehabilitation grants to income-eligible county residents to complete necessary repairs to their homes. The program is open to anyone who owns and occupies their home and meets the income requirements. The daughter of Snowbelt Housing's vice chairman applied for the grant program, and because Snowbelt is the subrecipient for the county, there is a perceived conflict of interest as Snowbelt assists this household. If Snowbelt wishes to assist the household, it must request a waiver of the perceived conflict of interest from the Office of Community Renewal at the state. The assistance to be proposed to be provided to the household is consistent with funding provided to other households in similar circumstances. The proposed rehabilitation includes window and door replacement, placement of plumbing lines, electrical upgrade, flooring and some interior repairs, lead-based paint film stabilization, and replacement of the deck and railing for a total cost of $33,525. The bids were reviewed by Snowbelt Housing's Project Committee on Thursday, November 16th, and approved by the Snowbelt Housing Board of Directors. Dennis Mastacusa abstained from any discussion on this project and also abstained for the voting on the project. The Snowbelt Board voted to approve assistance to the household pending the grant of the waiver of the conflict.
Could you say again what was going to be repaired? I didn't catch all of it.
Yeah, window door replacement, placement of plumbing lines, electrical upgrade, flooring and interior repairs, lead-based paint film stabilization, which is basically painting of the house. And
Inside or outside?
pardon?
Painting.
Paint film stabilization.
Painting the house inside or outside?
Outside. Yeah, it has deteriorated paint on the outside, and we have to repaint it as a result of that. And replacement of the deck and railing. So it's pretty typical repairs.
You're coming to us, so I assume you would care to do this rehab.
Pardon?
Is it safe to assume you would recommend that we do this rehab?
Well, Yeah, I mean, they are an income-eligible household, the house needs work, and the only reason we can't help her is because her dad's on our board, vice chairman of our board.
So if he hadn't been on the board, it'd been a no-brainer for him.
Right, exactly. And we run into this before. The community development block grant, it's federal money, so anytime we assist a household, if we were doing a grant, say, in the village of Lions Falls, and somebody who was related to a board member or related to Snowbelt because we're administering the money, there was that perception that there would be a conflict. And we've had to do this. We've had to do this in the past with in other communities if there's somebody in the local community. And in some communities, in the town of Martinsburg, the town of Pinckney, it gets really difficult to try and assist somebody who's not related to somebody.
Right.
So that's basically what we're looking at here. It's because they're eligible. If they weren't related to somebody on our board, it wouldn't be a no-brainer.
So this is not your first rodeo with this getting the approval?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Cheryl, as I understood, the selection criteria for this individual was the same selection criteria that was used for everybody else that applied for the grant.
Oh, correct.
Thank
Correct. The only, on our application, when somebody applies, and we ask on our application if anybody is related to anybody who is on the board at Snowbelt, or anybody who's related to anybody at a municipality or county. And they did disclose that up front, so we did have them complete the waiver form, so we disclosed it. You know, we're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to give somebody something they're not entitled to or anything else as a result of the program.
Any other questions for Cheryl?
Mr. Chairman, I can just also relay that I reviewed all the documents that Snowbelt has prepared. In fact, the forms that they give to any of the proposed grant recipients, they actually use from the office, from OCA, from the Office of Community Renewal, the actual forms that they suggest that are used. So they've done everything to the letter. And again, because this is really a grant that came to the county and this board are the ones who have to approve making the request for the waiver to the state. And so we will be making that application if the board finds that the waiver is appropriate.
Jerry?
I do have one question. So even with him recusing himself and not voting and stuff, we still have to take it one step farther and get grant a waiver
From the state.
from the state on our behalf.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Cheryl? Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, does anyone from the public have any comments regarding their other subjects, or budget?
I do, in terms of wanting to speak to the board about my request for a position. I don't know when.
This is probably where you would come in then.
Okay.
Oh, but hearing's closed.
Just kidding. He's a joker. I was going to say, I was pretty sure all of you would be super excited to see me stand up here. So I know my committee, I think, has, oh, thanks, Steve. It's been a good day. Good day for photos.
I get your good side.
Yeah, it's been a good day for photos.
Yeah. So I heard.
Yeah, it's not been a good day for photos. I know that I've talked, I don't know, it's probably not the last, every single month for I don't know how many months to the Courts and Law Committee about a lot of different subjects, but consistently, and I think I said like a broken record too, in particular the subject of a new ADA. So I don't know how much information you have gotten over the course of the time in terms of whether or not you want anything additional. I will present you with some information. It is a request that I am presenting. I know that I have spoken at length with Patricia and Ryan in terms of that. I know that the presented budget does not contain any new positions. I'm still coming to you asking for your consideration for that for a new position beginning in 2018. This year in particular, and I don't expect the trend to end, which is sad in and of itself, we are beyond overwhelmed. I had a conversation again with Ryan today. He did indicate, I don't know if you have, my apologies for being a little late, I was dealing with situations, is that he will or has already told you that there may be a little bit more cushion this year, and we'll discuss that with you if he has not already done that. So I'm requesting that the position be funded for beginning 2018, if not tomorrow. So I'll hand this out to you, or just have you pass around. It's some of the stuff that I will talk to you a little bit about, but just so that you can have it, there's at least one for everybody and for more, just so that you have some of the information in actual form that I'm going to talk to you about. One of the documents is something that is nothing more prevalent than today, where CSERT, which is members of basically clean up New York State police, come for response to clandestine labs, who spent far more hours today in Lewis County than they wanted to, who cleaned up 2 labs today. 3 people were arrested on A2 felonies for having more than 2 ounces of methamphetamine. And we're still continuing an investigation on the second lab. One of the things that you've received there is the total number of labs over a period of 4 years, with the increase showing in 2017, and you can see pretty much the strip where it goes. And in particular, if you look on the legend for 2017, you see the very, very dark spots. Where you see them highlighted is Jefferson and Lewis County in particular. And you can see the trend from 2014 with pretty much a single dot in Lewis County to the darkest spots in 2017. And that's their response for both dump sites and actual labs. You'll see, and this just goes through September. This is from the clandestine laboratory activity of New York State from up through September 30th of 2017. And what they talk about on one of the pages that I've given you is they highlight the dense concentration of activity within Jefferson, Lewis, and Cortland counties, specifically calling attention to the activity in and around Watertown, Lovell, and Lyons Falls, and then they talk about Portland. The worst page is total clandestine incidences by county. You'll see that in 2017 to date, Jefferson County leads with 62. Lewis County is next in line with 41. And when you think about the per capita, that pretty much means we lead the state. The last piece of paper that I copied for you is a breakdown. Now it probably goes back, not that it's changed significantly, but that probably goes back about 8-9 months, is most of the counties, the smaller sized counties, populations, what's the largest we have on there, about 70,000, and the breakdown of their positions of ADAs. The DA is not counted, because the general, there's no specific rule, but the general rule is that in order to function, you want to have about 1 ADA for a population of 10,000 people. So it's kind of a breakdown of the county is on the left, the middle is how many they have, and then the population of their size county is on the right. At the bottom, you'll see, so for our county, we have 1 ADA for a population of approximately 27,000 people. We are the smallest county in terms of per ADA. The only county that would be different would be Hamilton. I always get them confused. Who has one ADA for a population of 5,000 people. They do have a part-time DA. They are the only county in New York State that has a part-time DA. So with the exception of that, which is an exception based upon both the size of their county and the fact that they have a part-time ADA and a part-time DA, you'll see the breakdown at the bottom. The next largest breakdown is Yates County, which has 1.5 ADAs for a population of 25,000, which means that it's one ADA for every 16,666. So we are at one at every 27,000. So that was about the nearest comparison that I can make. And then the rest are breakdowns in comparison. Because I wanted to be able to give you a comparison to what we have compared to other remotely sizable counties throughout the state in order to show you what we have. I also tried to give a comparison of our current numbers. So what we did is go through, because we roll over in terms of prosecution, for instance, somebody might be arrested, for instance, now, and their case may not be fully prosecuted till sometime next year. So what we did in order to remain consistent was go back for every year and look at when a person was arrested in January, if they were arrested January 1, and just look at the initial charge through December 31st and just count on felonies only. You didn't even try it on misdemeanors because it would have been impossible, just to give you an idea of numbers. As of November 16th, just to bring you up to date when we did it, which was last week alone, we are at a total felony number of arrests of 125, which exceeds every other year for the full year by that point, the felony arrests alone. Since that time, we've already had 4 more arrests when including a vehicular homicide, 3 A2 felony arrests, in addition to other investigations that I'm really not at liberty to talk to you much about. So we're talking probably in a week's time, 10 more felony situations that you got 2 people to work on, in addition to the fact that we're dealing with the misdemeanors and violations and traffic tickets in this county. To say that the increase, I think when I last figured it out, was over 26% higher than just the previous year. The coroner cases are total as of last week of week 47 at 54 cases. We have 11 confirmed overdoses with 1 still pending. I can direct a lot of this to the drug situation. In 2015, we had 21 drug-related felony arrests. 5 of them were for marijuana, 11 of them were for meth from the original arrest. They may have been given an upgrade at grand jury or plea or something, but we just went with what an original arrest was. In 2016, we had 47. Marijuana was 5, meth became 15. Last figured out, we were at 51 for 2017, with marijuana remaining fairly consistent at 5. Meth was 16. We had what just happened today for arrests, not investigations, in the last week, and we are already up at 1, 2, 3, 54, with meth being at 19.
So, Leanne, if I could interrupt you and ask you a question.
Yep.
Do you have any information on how much your total caseload has risen? In other words, has the focus shifted to drugs and away from something else, or how much is your total workload increased because of this?
I guess I don't quite know how to answer it. It's probably shifted a little bit. Our burglary numbers, just because there's an investigation pending where some of them have not been charged, whereas 1 or 2 people have probably 9 other burglaries that still have to be charged, so those numbers haven't been counted. So you want to add that, that's about 9 to 10 more that have to be done. They sometimes shift cyclically. Our sex numbers are probably up a little bit, but they sometimes go in waves. I anticipate with the Child Advocacy Center, that's probably going to potentially, it doesn't necessarily mean that it increases, but the investigations can be given more time and attention, and sometimes that pursues people coming forward a little bit more. That's probably a fairly underreported find. If what I anticipate happening, we now have 2 investigators with the Sheriff's Department, so that gives them more time and attention to be able to give time and attention to cases. While I can't speak for the New York State Police, nor do I intend to speak for the New York State Police, I will indicate that their numbers are highest, with the exception of 1 troop that is down a person. Their numbers in our troop are the highest for each individual investigator having more cases that they're investigating than any other location. So they're close to getting another investigator. That will increase our numbers.
My question is, on an annual basis, you must have number of
Yes.
cases that you have taken on, and the number that have actually gone to court and not plea bargain. So how does this year compare, or how does, I guess we're not through the year yet. How does it compare to other years?
I don't divide those out, meaning I don't take down the numbers and say, what's plea bargain? Everything is, what I did was go through the numbers, just like I said, and I did for every year. We took who was arrested on a felony case. We didn't count misdemeanors. The numbers that I just went over were felony arrests, because we couldn't begin to count the number of misdemeanors. Because we don't have either the resources, I suppose I could if you give me the resource to be able to count misdemeanors and violations. Because we have a computer system, which we only got in, I think, 2010 or 12, that might be able to count them if we put it into the system. But we took felonies because we put it into a computer system that I can print off and then just go through and count, because each one is logged into a system. So I can go through and count from January 1 to keep it consistent in numbers. I went through from January 1 of each year to December 31st of each year and counted just the defendant, not all their charges, just the defendant, to get the same consistent number to give you these numbers. And from January 1 of each year to December 31st of each year, who those people were who were arrested, and then put them into a category of like either a drug or a burglary or things like that, to kind of be a consistent category. And as of November of 16 of 2017, the number of people who've been arrested on felony level charges is higher than any other year, with the exception of 2 years for the entire year.
Does it take more time to process a felony than a misdemeanor?
Absolutely, and it takes more time to process A2 felony drug cases and sex cases and vehicular homicides than it does, say, most burglaries. So what we've seen with this trend with drug cases is that they're higher level felonies. We've had, I don't know, that in previous years, which is why I broke them down by the previous years of meth cases and drug cases, that in 2015 and before that, that's about the first time we started seeing meth cases. But now we're getting significantly more, and then we're getting more people in those houses. Today we got 3 A2 felonies. That's a lot more work and a lot more significant prosecution of the A2 is the highest. You go level felony, A1 and A2. That's drug highest, and that's murder. Then you work down to B's and C's and D's and E's. That's your felonies. So when you're getting A2s, you're getting significantly higher sentences. You're getting situations where people may not quote unquote plea bargain, or you're going to go farther in the process of the criminal justice system than you would on possibly a grand larceny, where someone steals maybe a credit card or someone steals more than $1,000. You're going to get potentially more work on that. And in particular, on an A2 for a drug case or a sexual assault, if you do something to a child, there's sometimes A2s. Because you can't plea those by what's called Superior Court information. You have to present those to the grand jury. So no matter what, you have a greater workload. So the more of these I get, the more work that I have. So we are in a situation where we've always been busy. We've always been overwhelmed. We're in a position where I don't know how to explain it to you beyond. Where not only are our numbers low to start with, meaning we have been always behind the 8 ball with the number of people I have in my office, statistically. We are 1 ADA for 27,000 people, which is realistically almost 2 ADAs short. But not only that, we're almost at an increase of over 26 to 30% higher caseload than what we normally have been. And that's not going to stop. I don't know. I'm pausing because he looks like he's asking a question.
What happens when, go ahead, Phil.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
When you get this increased caseload, does your backlog increase? What, I mean,
It floats.
so it takes longer to get them to trial?
No, I still have time limits that I have to deal with. I absolutely have time limits that I have to deal with. So what it just means is that you just got to work longer and more, and I still have time limits that I have to deal with. Those time limits don't change. So it's significantly more disconcerting and scary to make sure that you don't drop the ball on A2 felonies and make the meth situation worse. We have a problem here that we have to deal with, and so you have to make sure that you are handling those things and not letting something slip through the cracks while new fires are coming in. And so that's how I describe it. Is on my desk are fires, explosions, fires, things almost burned out, burning embers, things that are okay, and things that are not on fire. And then things that I'm hoping don't start a fire. I have piles, and I take care of those, and then when those explosions are the things that walk in my door every day. And then I hope I can get to the explosions and the burning piles before that next pile becomes a burning pile. That's how bad it is. And that's when you get 2 search warrants in a day. And I'm not here to explain how much you got to go through to get a search warrant or do, but that's 2 new things that brought in potentially, without going into a lot of detail, 7 new cases in one day for 2 people, who really is 1, because I've got 1 person who has to handle everything else. And that's not including everything else that happened in the last week in this county.
How many ADAs does St. Lawrence County have?
That I actually is probably a question that you might want to be checking in with the new DA. I think it's been a floating number, to be honest.
You don't know?
I don't know, because I think they don't have as many positions as they were temporarily entitled to. So I really don't know.
How about Jefferson County?
You would think I should know, because I know most of them. Jefferson, I think, is on the list.
I didn't see it.
Okay. That answer I could get you by tomorrow. Let me think. Got Patty?
Don't worry about it.
I believe they have 7 or 8, but don't quote me for sure on it, because some have come and gone, and I used to know every single one of them, but I believe they have like 7 or 8 in Jefferson County. And I actually don't know for sure about St. Lawrence County, because they have had quite a bit of turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Don't go there.
you are 1 prong of this situation. We obviously.
Well, the drug situation, but yes.
Let me finish, okay? My turn this time. You being the DA are 1 prong of this opioid
problem, opioid. The others being the sheriff, probation, public defender, and even DSS, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're in here asking for another person, and I understand this, okay? I'm not against it. But wouldn't it be advisable for us to take a cohesive approach with everyone that is affected by this? Is probation not affected by what you do and this opioid situation? Would you
Yes.
agree with that?
I wouldn't disagree with you because ultimately the end of prosecution may end up with people on probation. Yes.
And public defender would be affected. If you're prosecuting, somebody's gonna have to defend them, right?
Ultimately, if somebody's arrested, there's ultimately has to be a defense attorney of some nature, yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm thinking that we need to take a more unified approach to this situation and see what everybody needs and do it once and do it right.
I don't disagree with you. What I'm telling you, though, is that my office is beyond that. I'm not telling you that there won't be repercussions in terms of the fact that there may not be other people who may have things. I don't know, and I don't want to speak for their offices. What I'm telling you is that we are behind the 8 ball
I
at this point
understand
in our
that,
office.
and I don't disagree with that. But I'm just telling you my opinion on what I think this board should look at is a unified, cohesive approach. And
I don't disagree with you. What I'm telling you that if their position is, then they can come here and be behind me saying, we also need people. They may be, you gotta remember that there isn't just one person in probation and there's just not one investigator in one of those situations. And I'm not disagreeing that they probably are gonna end up needing help. But I'm not here, and I'll stand behind them if they are. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying we have timeframes, we have to serve this community, and I am entrusted by this community and by my job title and by my ethical bound duties to keep on top of that which I am bound to
let me be clear, I'm a yes vote, okay? I'm not trying to argue with you about this, but I just want...
persistent.
Persistent, I guess so. Geez, I don't want to go up against you, I know that.
Well, hopefully, just tell that to a lot of other people. I'm just saying, that's the thing. Is it a problem that we need to take a cohesive stance on a lot of things? Yes. It is a scary world out there.
It is.
It is. And I have said I am like Chicken Little. I am not Chicken Little saying the sky is falling. And I hate to be that person because I have seen more in the last year and a half than I have ever wanted to see. And Mr. King will say, I come and I am always the horrible bearer of horrible news, and I repeat myself on a regular basis.
Well, he does too, so.
So does he?
But we still welcome you.
I know you do. I know you do, and I'll start bringing donuts and coffee, and maybe then I'll be even more favorably looked at. I know that I come never with good news and things of that nature, but I'm trying to take it one step at a time, but I am fully in agree with you that there needs to be a reevaluation of a lot of things because it's a horrible situation, and I want to be proven wrong that it goes away and then it gets better. And I'm really concerned that
Well, in the short term, that's not going to happen.
no.
But everything you said costs money,
I know.
and that's the balance.
Absolutely. But it's lives, and that's what's hard too.
Yep. I'm not going to argue with you anymore.
Okay. I won't argue unless anybody has any questions. Okay. Thank you for your time very much.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the public regarding any of the local laws and the budget? Privilege of the floor, any topic.
When do you want us to talk about the budget?
Probably it's,
What'd you say, Andrew?
I didn't see it on the list.
That's a good point.
it's probably as good as any right now, Phil.
I have, first off, I want to, Ryan, you've done a good job in this budget, you and Patty. It really puts you behind the 8 ball with the medical, the insurance situation. And had that not been a factor, you would have had an easy budget, or much easier, I should say. So I applaud what you've done. You did what you had to do, but I don't agree with what you did in all cases. I'm only saying, I've told him this before.
We've been talking.
Yes. So I'm not talking out of school, but my biggest concern is the cut in contingency funds. As I described to you earlier today, and Leanne confirmed, you know, the opioid situation is a definite situation, and it's not going away anytime soon. And she needs another ADA, somebody might need another probation. The public defender is probably gonna ask for more money. The thing is, cutting the contingency so drastically gives us no hedge against a difficult situation, in my opinion. In my opinion, I believe, and Patty might not believe this with me, but I believe that we have committed to, we have not spent, but we've committed to over 300,000 out of contingencies this year. And that's this year. This has not been an exceptional year overly. So when we've only got 200,000 in there, that doesn't help us if we've got a really tight budget, like we have a really tight budget. I really think it would behoove us to find some money within the budget, and I don't say cut the budget or add to the budget, but within the budget, if we could find to get our contingency at least to 400,000, I think it would be very appropriate to do that. And I don't, Patty, knowing the numbers, you don't totally disagree with that statement, do you?
You'd probably love to answer that now, wouldn't you, Ryan?
We actually got some new information last week. Usually the state of New York takes a full year to get us our information about what our transfer payment to the hospital is going to be. They match whatever we put into the hospital and the nursing home. Typically, we don't get that information until the following November. Well, this year, we got the information for next year this November. So we got it last week. So we know that our transfer to the hospital, to the nursing home.
It's the nursing home.
The nursing home, we had budgeted 2.2 million, is only going to be 2 million. So we do have $200,000 that we didn't anticipate we were going to have when we put this budget together. Typically, like I said, we don't know what that number is going to be until November. Now, I would caution you by also adding that we don't know what our hospital IGT share is going to be. We probably won't get that until November like we normally get it. And that will probably be about where we budgeted, but as with the state, we don't always know exactly what they're going to, put up for us to match. So there.
Contingency, though.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of cushion, how you might want to put it, but not a lot. And also, that same $200,000, you know, you could look at it as a hedge for the hospital IGT payment, which we don't know what that would be yet. So a little cushion, yes,
Really
but
fishing contingency.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's great, and I would highly recommend that we move that 200,000 to contingency. And she's giving me the look over
I'm
there.
not, just listening.
But I, you know, really, Patty has always done well projecting the unknown on this IGT, you know? So I'm not really overly worried about the hospital one myself because of the track record of Patty. So I don't feel uncomfortable a bit about moving that 200. But I do have a couple of other things that concern me with the budget.
Sure.
And
Phil, if I could just interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
The other unknown is we don't know exactly where sales tax is gonna come in yet either. So if that stays on the same projection that it's been on, there could be some additional money there also that could be put into contingency, right?
are you talking about the end of 2017 or what we have budgeted for 2018?
2017.
End of
2017.
That goes
number.
into fund balance, that doesn't go into contingency.
So that goes
Contingency
into
is
fund
different,
balance?
right,
So we
that
take it
goes
out of
into fund
And
balance.
put it in contingency,
You could,
but it
but
doesn't really matter.
Right, right.
Why is the, and I'm just throwing out this, because I disagree a little bit on loading the fund balance up like we had. I mean, I think where you put the fund balance, it's gonna be tight, and we're gonna have to make decisions. But pretty much, if it wasn't funded at budget time, should it be like we do in the past? Somebody comes in and asks for us, it wasn't funded at budget time, and we fund it again. I think we ought to start holding our budgets that we put together. And if we hold our budgets, we don't need all this contingency. And there is a fund balance, there is unappropriated revenues that come in every year that lets us know what we could apply to taxes the following year. And also, that money that's coming in can be opened up after a certain date to cover stuff that we don't have any options on.
Well, Jerry, one of the things I had on my list here to talk about was the E911.
As far
We
as-
took $30,108 out of contingency for E.F. Johnson, wasn't it, to get them on call? Well, that came up and we had, you recommended we do that. We didn't stick with the
The
budget.
reason it was is, and I'm not being negative on this, we closed out account and took out of our total radio money, $450,000. We didn't have a choice. We gotta finish this project.
Well,
If that $450 would have been left in there, we wouldn't have been coming back to contingency. And I'm not finding fault with anybody, but we lost $450,000 when we closed out that account that we were budgeted to spend.
the point is, we needed that $30,108,
Yeah, but
and we got it out of contingency.
But look what we got left this year.
Now, there's another one that I had on my list that I'm concerned. Well, first off, when we did that 30,000, I was under the understanding that was going to be ongoing. And I thought I asked you about that we're going to do this every year, and you said, yes, it's going to be a budget item. But it's not in the budget.
We will, well, I'm looking at it different. It'll be through PSAP and stuff. What happened is that's an ongoing maintenance, so we'll be able to shift that back over once we get our project completed. Right now, because we didn't, in part of the major overall picture, we had to do what they called not an overlay, but interoperable on 3 tower sites. When we got our money this year for us to qualify for that grant, we had to put $350,000 towards this overlay. because that was part of the agreement that we had as far as the complete radio system to secure the $6 million. So once we get this out of the way, the 350, that should free up money. So what we get in those stipends each year, and I can't tell you what it's gonna be. It's supposedly it'll be as close as it was last year, around 539,000. That'll allow us to use it for maintenance, repair and stuff. The 30,000 that we got for E.F. Johnson, so we do the contract this year, should be taken out of there in the future.
But it's not in the budget.
It will be under Cheryl's side, the grant and stuff.
The 30,000 isn't in here appropriated to
We won't
spend.
need it again. It's a one-time shot.
Well, see, that's where I was confused,
But that-
because I thought you said it was gonna be an annual.
It will be an annual thing, but it won't be of the budget. In other words, we have a source to pay for that ongoing, we just didn't have it this one time.
Well, let me go to a different one then. The jail, we had to add $40,000 for boarding costs. It was not in the budget, but we had to add it. I mean,
Okay.
it was an expense, we had to do it, right? So we couldn't necessarily hold them to the budget because it was an unforeseen thing evidently when we did last year's budget. But what worries me is that we increased it $40,000, but we only added $5,000 in the line item in this year's 18 budget.
Okay.
So that concerns me.
Yeah.
Well,
And then there's other concerns like public defender, as we talked a little bit earlier, we had to add 20,000 to them.
Right.
Probably a lot to do with the opioid. So I'm just bringing these things up that,
No,
that
I see what you're saying.
and when you say stick to the budget, we can't always stick to the budget. But these are kind of some of the things that I worry about with the little contingency. And I will get off my soapbox.
Huh?
We need some contingency for the unknowns, I mean.
Oh, I
you
agree
can't look-
there.
Yeah, I know you do, yeah. You just can't look at it
You know,
like
there's,
we've got everything
there's
planned right now.
Ryan, did you?
some sources of money, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, as the year progresses, on appropriated revenue. It's when we get more revenue in than we've actually appropriated. That's unspoken for fund balance, and until if we know it's there, we can appropriate that into our budget to help us out. So we don't necessarily need all the contingency, and the problem is having that much contingency. It just, what I saw was the fact of it's gonna put us potentially over the cap and stuff like this if we have to raise it to get it in there.
That's not what I suggested. I suggested what he just said, we could move 200,000.
Yeah.
So,
But the thing about the contingency is what you argued for many years ago, is to have it in the contingency, everybody's got to vote on it to get it out of contingency. Instead of, and that's transparent.
Yeah.
That let everybody know what's going on, as opposed to what you just said about, well, we're gonna have extra revenues here or there, we could use
Well,
that.
but
But when you got it in contingency and the whole board's got to vote on it, then
But
we're
that-
on record,
but
and that's
that
the way it
amount-
ought to be,
that
transparent.
That amount of contingency that we had in there in the past was a lot more than we needed.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So if we get down
I agree
to a
with that.
balance, whether it's $200,000 more or what, but, you know, I don't, whatever way people want to do it, I don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with what you just said, 870,000 is a whole lot of contingency, and we don't need that. The history tells us we don't need that much, so, but history tells me we've got to have at least 400, and I'd be better with 450. But
Can I
it's your
jump in?
budget.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No,
Go ahead, Ryan.
he was on track.
to respond to some of the things that Phil brought up, you absolutely have a point, Phil, that there's line items that we are not going to be able to know, everything that's gonna happen throughout the year. And the two that you picked on are two great examples, because the jail outboarding was spiked by one case. one individual. So that, we can argue, is not part of a larger trend, but it's still something that hits our contingency. Same thing with the public defender. That was billing, our spike this year, the $20,000 was a billing issue with some of the conflict defenders.
Right.
So it's not, so we added a little bit to those line items to account for the overall trend, but we're not jumping on, you know, increasing it 50,000 or 20,000 because of individual cases. We're trying to predict the trend. But we're never gonna be perfect. We're not gonna get the whole trend perfect, so we do need some contingency. The reason that I do feel comfortable with the $250,000 is because if you take out some of the items that we've decided to take out of contingency this year and put those off the table, things that are not necessarily necessities, but rather things that people have come to request, then I think personally that we could get by with the $250,000. I know you and I disagree on that, but that's kind of where I came to that conclusion. If you take away the outside agencies that have come for one-time shots or grants or help us with this project, if you take those things away, then I think we could stay under the 250, and that was my theory.
I gotta parrot what Dick said, stuff comes up, you know, and
Really
really,
even more comfortable if it was 400 instead of 250.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but Hudson River came up,
yeah.
Yeah.
my favorite. You know,
Jerry's too.
yeah. And it's all down the line. We've got a whole bunch of things that came up, and they just come up. The $1,000 for the academy, that's a good thing to spend, you know, I mean, things come up.
Well, and we've got other, you know, sources of contingency or cushion as well that are built in, you know. We don't run everything razor thin. So there is a little bit of breathing room.
But that's less transparent,
Yes.
and that, I guess, that's the
Well,
crux of what I'm saying. I like the transparency.
I don't know if it's not transparent, it's just not predictable till later in the year. I mean, we are
Yep.
projecting a cushion of X amount of dollars, which is in the budget, as far as sales tax, but if we don't make that, we've got a little bit less, say 50, I'm gonna pick $50,000 or 100,000, that we've got a cushion there that we can, you know, not make that much and still keep our budget intact. And each year, I think we're getting closer and closer to the sales tax, but those cushions, and just me speaking, I believe in those because you were with us, remember that year we predicted, and we still had a cushion. But our sales tax tanked there that one
Yeah.
quarter, and we ended up, I forgot, at one point, we were $800,000, and it worked its way out that last quarter, but
Well, we had a project here this year that had 150 people working on it. Another project next year that's got 150 people working on it to keep that sales tax
Yeah.
where it was.
Yeah.
You put 150 people in Lewis County for 12 months and they buy everything that they buy at the stores.
That was a good counterbalance to climax.
Exactly. Yeah, we had.
Without
We didn't know it, but we had some, yeah, exactly.
And you know, I think people have had extra money to spend because gasoline prices have been down for the last year and a half, not the greatest, but they've been down, and fuel oils roughly last year was $2 cheaper than it was the year before.
And the extra volumes made up a little bit for the.
So I think people may have a little bit more cash to spend on stuff, so they started getting stuff they've needed or put off. I don't know.
So, Ryan,
Yeah.
help me with the process that if we don't pay for something out of contingency, what, if we use fund balance to do it?
So say we have a expense that goes above and beyond our contingency, totally unexpected, the roof caves in, you know, whatever it may be. In that case, you would have to make a resolution to appropriate additional fund balance. So we'd be basically tapping into our savings account.
Okay, so we do have that
Yeah,
as
if we
a,
put the extra
Go-
in
yes.
fund balance, it's there to bring it back down to what we want to hold for acceptable level of funding.
and that way, we could use that as a cushion so that we could pass this budget.
Same thing with, you know, we use the example of a large unexpected expense, but the same thing could be said for a large unexpected decline in revenue. Say we had, you know, a Great Depression or, you know,
Sales
situation.
tax.
Sales tax, then you'd appropriate additional revenues to cover it.
And we have enough in the fund balance to meet the state minimum requirements if we had to do that.
We don't have to miss an action.
What do we have in the fund?
Right now, over 11 million, now it's 11.4.
That's our max that we're allowed anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, we really don't have a max where we just set that,
10% of our.
right.
That's what.
Yeah.
But you
That we're
combine two
trying to-
budgets together.
There's two in there, yeah, it's not all county. 5 and 6, okay.
Okay. Regarding our public hearing, any final comments regarding the 2018 budget, overriding the tax levy, or granting a waiver for conflict of interest?
We're not overriding the tax levy.
No, but there's a public hearing to allow for comment. So before I,
We don't really need, we didn't even need the resolution, did we?
no, as a precaution,
Well,
Yeah, just in case.
you have to do it ahead.
do it every year because it takes so long to move it forward in case we need it.
Okay, so that was your comment. Anybody else have any comments regarding the public hearing?
I'm done.
Okay, I'll announce the public hearing is closed. Nothing else for privilege of the floor? Presentation of communications and notices, Terry?
There are none.
Florida County Officers and Departments, Terry?
There are none.
And report of standing committees. Any?
Yes.
No one. Bill, do you have something for taxation?
I have something for IT, actually.
Okay,
At our meeting up in Harrisville, I neglected to mention something. And it was a good thing because Adam couldn't find his way up there. But anyway, I neglected to mention that our own Adam Zare has set another American record on lifting, or was it a world record?
American.
In a different weight class. So now you've got two, right?
Correct.
Way to go, Adam Zare.
There you go.
very good.
And I also wanted to mention that Adam sent us an email earlier about the website, and you're ready to rock and roll, right?
Yeah, we set that out internally so everybody can look for mistakes within their own departments, and then, but it is live on lewiscounty.org, so
And it's very user-friendly.
we think so.
He'll teach you how to use it.
Probably have to. And that'll conclude my report, Mike.
Good report, Bill.
Yay, Bill.
That's the shortest one, isn't it, Patty?
Jerry, anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion, and I may have to read it a couple times. It's correct. Motion to authorize Sheriff Carpinelli to fill a part-time dispatcher due to resignation. Then with that, a full-time deputy sheriff sergeant due to the undersheriff's appointment, and a full-time deputy sheriff due to the promotion of the deputy to sergeant. So we're still, when it's all said and done, we're still short one road patrol. We did gain, there's still one, they're just bumping them up.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion by Jerry and a second by Phil. Discussion.
We're just backfilling because of.
Yeah, we kept one vacancy.
One vacant.
Okay. Other comments? All in favor of Jerry's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
That's the only other thing we've got. We've got clarification back on our bid process for the overlay and the interoperable channels. We'll be making a decision. We've got a meeting next Tuesday, so I'll let you know from there. Appreciate it.
Larry, anything?
No report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Greg?
No reports.
Nick?
Hospital's doing great right now, and I'll have more at the next meeting.
Andrea?
I have a motion. A motion to authorize Director Kenny Ingham to fill the vacant public health planner position, effective immediately.
Okay, we got a
Is that a
motion.
backfill?
Motion by Andrea, is there a second?
Is that a
Second
backfill?
by Larry. Discussion? Go ahead, Nick.
Is that a backfill of a funded position?
Yes. There was a promotion,
It's a resolution.
well, there was a resignation, they did a promotion, to put it,
Now they got it.
it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, I just wanted to ask.
Takes quite a little bit to figure them out at times, so.
Okay, all, any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Andrea?
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have no report at this meeting. Andrew, Ryan? Patty?
No report.
Treasurer report? Okay, we go to resolutions then.
Did you go to the inter-county
Oh,
meeting?
yes, I did. Yep, we went up.
Was there anything about side-by-sides there?
Actually, the lady from NISAC gave her a report and did improve the side by side, so I told her to make sure it was a priority, and she put a note down, said she'd go back and tell the people at NISAC. So,
There is a, just to add on that, there is a legislative conference for NISAC, January 28th, 29th, and 30th in Albany that I was thinking about going down for a day, so if anyone wants to join.
You said January, right?
When's that?
Yeah, that's the regular night set.
Towards the end.
20, it's actually 29th, 30th, and 31st, I got them on, 29th,
At
30th.
at the Desmond.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've gone before.
We did have a nice tour of Kern Energy up there too. It's a tremendous amount of pellets they bag in a day. Myself and Ryan attended.
So you asked the question on the side-by-sides, was it? You asked that one, right? When Joe Griffin was in town last week, I happened to meet with him on a different topic, and that did come up. But they're still working on the side-by-side issue. I know we've heard this for 3 or 4 years now, that it's getting closer, but he's seen more interest from different places now, so he was encouraged that there is some progress we can make. But I don't anticipate anything in 2 months. I think it's a year or two process.
Okay. I guess we can move to resolutions, Terry.
Resolution 455 is adopting and otherwise approving local law number 5, 2017.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion? Roll call, Terry.
Chartran?
Yes.
Okay, now this is to override the tax cap. Okay, Dahlhoff?
Yes.
Fawcett? Absent. Halfway?
Yep.
King?
I got a question for clarification. Why are we passing this and we're under the tax cap? We should be rescinding it.
I think after we pass the budget, we
Yeah,
could
yeah.
rescind
Right.
it.
Right.
I'm not sure why we put it in this order.
We usually always rescind it in January, right? Usually the next. after we
Okay,
do the
I'll
budget,
be A then.
We rescind it.
Until the budget is passed, the theory is any member of the board can make a motion to increase appropriations or change the tax rate. If that were to happen,
Okay.
we would want this in order. I don't think it will happen, but.
Good explanation. So, Jerry, or yes?
Yeah.
Coulter?
Yes.
Morahan?
Yes.
Absent, Table.
Yes.
You have introductory law number 5, amending and replacing the Lewis County junkyard law.
I'll make a motion to get this moved on.
That was just announced.
Resolution 456 is fixing the date of the public hearing for that local law for December 5.
Now I'll take your motion, Dick.
Okay.
Moved by Dick, seconded by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing a waiver request for conflict of interest between Snowbelt Housing Vice Chairman and an eligible rehabilitation grant recipient.
Moved by Phil, seconded by Larry. Discussion. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Transfer funds, elections.
Moved by Phil, seconded by Jerry. Discussion. Number 458.
Yeah, the 455.
We'll have 455.
A lot of pages in between.
We'll have 456.
And 58. 58 is like a,
Like a lot of it.
yeah.
Like when you say anything here?
I don't have no 55.
I got a 455, which has to do with superintendent highways.
I don't have that.
No, then
455 is the tax cap.
I got different packaging as well.
You have the earlier package.
You got the old pack.
You got the old
It
one.
was on the desk.
Oh, yeah, okay. The November 16 packets.
There's a couple more.
You would have gotten another package.
Yep,
Dick.
that's fine. Only bring one, paying attention to numbers.
Okay, 458. Dick, you got it? It's to transfer funds for elections, 1,500.
How about you, Greg? Have you got?
I got the other packet, let's see.
Here's the next one.
Larry picked them up.
Yeah, but that one's-
Should've got
Oh,
it.
that was the 60.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Ray.
So,
Okay, I think we've got a motion for 458 in a second.
You do, you do.
If everybody's up to speed, is there any discussion on 458?
What is this actually gonna get then?
they're gonna pay their EMS, electronic.
Maintenance, isn't it?
Yeah, in the year that it should be. Typically, they've been paying it in January, which makes it next year's budget.
Machines or anything, this is?
No.
Yeah, gotcha,
It-
thanks.
And they had extra money in inspectors because there wasn't a primary.
Sounds good.
There are 3 payments that they made, 2 and then they made the next one.
The next one.
The last one next year, this backs that up.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen one on the machine, that's what.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To reappoint David Becker as the superintendent of highways.
Moved by Phil, second by Larry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appoint office for the aging director.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to probation department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to probation department.
Moved by Andrea, second by Greg. Discussion?
Is this additional, Jerry?
No, this is what happens when they've been there a certain amount of time, they're bumped up to the senior. And then filling in, with being bumped up right now, it's filling in for one that's not gonna be here for a while.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of temporary.
That's why I was confused about temporary. Okay.
Other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing the agreement between Department of Probation and Rubenzoll, Knudsen and Associates.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing amendment to extend contract for Office of Indigent Legal Services.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion?
It's the same numbers as last year.
There's no change here. It's at 5-year agreements. This is distribution 5.
Other questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Greg. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
466 is adopting the budget for fiscal year 2018.
I make the motion, we table that. So
Motion
we
by,
can get a resolution on some of the issues that brought up tonight.
motion by Phil, second by someone else want to table it? Andrea? Discussion? When does this have to be, what's the last date this has to be approved again?
December 31st.
And December 20th, but it's, December 5 is your next meeting.
And December 5, we could have, if Brian was gonna make adjustments, we could have resolutions to adjust that.
Right, if there were going to be any amendments to the budget, they have to be
And then at that
presented
point-
by resolution.
So that would be appropriate to do it then, if you're gonna present any, in my opinion. We ought to take into consideration what's been said tonight.
You second it?
Okay, any other comments on tabling the resolution?
I got some, but I don't think you're not supposed to have that on the table motion. It's supposed to come up second and vote, so.
Pardon me?
On a table motion like this, your motion to table, you get a second, we have to vote. You're not supposed to have discussion on a table motion.
That,
Right, Joe?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So,
Where did you learn that?
Rules of
Robert's Rule of Order.
Jeez, they're just a guideline.
Yeah, they are. I'm just saying, it helps out.
That's
It'll
interesting.
make this go quicker.
okay,
It didn't work though, did it?
all in favor of
Move to
tabling?
strike all that comment.
All in favor of tabling the
Let the record
resolution?
not show.
Say aye.
The table.
Yeah.
On a roll call, Terry, maybe that'll.
Okay, roll call. And this is to table.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, is Chartran,
No.
Dalhoff,
No.
Fawcett,
That's it.
sorry, Hathaway,
Yes.
King,
No.
Causer,
No.
Marahan,
Yes.
Tabor.
No.
We have 6 names and 3 absent, so those are defeated.
Okay, back to the resolution adopting the budget. Discussion, Dick?
I agree with Phil.
I'm sorry,
We
Mr. Chairman.
have, oh, we have to.
What?
I'm sorry, you never got the resolution on the floor. You gotta put the resolution on
Yeah,
the
that's
floor.
what
So I'll make.
You gotta make a motion.
Need a motion in a second.
Okay, I thought we put it on the floor before he.
No, Phil made
Oh.
the tabling motion.
Phil
I'll second
Phil
it.
jumped the gun.
One of us will second.
So, I'm
All right, we've
sorry.
got a motion.
Larry and Jerry.
by Larry and a second by Jerry.
Thank you.
Now, discussion on the resolution. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand what Phil was saying about some resolution being done. My feeling is that Patty, Ryan, the committees that deal with this have worked on the budget to get it to this point. And no budget's ever perfect. And I believe what we heard tonight, we do have some contingency funds in there. And I think unemotionally over the next month or so, we can discuss some of what we heard tonight and have time to discuss it and make an informed decision. I don't like to do it just quickly like this. So I would say we pass this. We're not gonna go beyond what we've got in contingency, so we know what we've got there and we can work on it.
What did you just say, we're not gonna go beyond what we have?
I would hope that we aren't gonna change our budget beyond what we've got in contingency, because we don't wanna exceed the tax cap, and I think we're about at the top of the tax cap, as I understand the budget.
If we appropriate additional tax revenue,
Right,
then yes.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, but what about adding to the contingency with the funds that Ryan described?
And then that can be done, as I understand it. They will initially go into fund balance, and fund balance can come back out and go into contingency or whatever we decide to cover.
Could we do a resolution at the next meeting to do that, Dick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm asking you, would you agree to that?
Oh, yeah. If we've got everything done, Phil, yeah. I mean, like you said, we've got some important decisions to be made. Some of them, I think, can't be made in a one stovepipe. I think we've got to look at a broader spectrum of them. We had money, if we had done different things at the last meeting, where we could have maybe saved the taxpayers some money by getting some money in from outside agencies like we did with tobacco and everything else. And we decided not to even do that, so, I mean, I think we gotta look for all the money we can, quite honestly, and bring it in here so that we don't put an undue burden on the taxpayers. What I'm hearing is Jefferson County and St. Lawrence County went into that action, and if any money comes out of it, they're gonna get some of it. We're not. So, and I think that money could go towards solving some of the DA's problems for sure.
Well, I would say, I understand what you're saying, but for that to materialize in 2018 is a significant loss.
No, I understand that, but right now, as it says, it's not gonna materialize at all. Ever. That's the thing. But yeah, we can, Phil.
Phil, to do what you're looking to do to add to that contingency fund is gonna have to be done by resolution one way or another.
Right.
So if we pass the budget tonight, basically we're agreeing to the tax levy that's been proposed, and we're agreeing to put the money, appropriate it the way it's been proposed. After that, you've gotta have a resolution to switch it anyways.
Right.
Or you do a resolution to transfer it before we pass the budget. Either way, you've gotta have a resolution once
Right.
the tentative budget has been put forth. So that's however you guys want to proceed, if that's the way you want to proceed.
So if you wanted to pull money from certain areas of the budget to lower the tax cap,
You
or
would
lower
have,
the tax rate,
you would have to do that
do it
before. You'd have to do it
before
before.
the budget. Because there's quite a bit, I found 134,000 that could be cut. Lower the tax cap a little bit.
Not the tax cap. The tax rate.
Tax rate, not the cap.
And what did the tax rate go, Patty, what was it last year versus? this year?
7.23 to 7.34.
So,
It's about $11 for $100,000 of
$11
value.
a hundred.
So,
But if we pass this budget, we can't change the
Yeah,
budget.
not change it.
No.
But you've got money in contingency.
We can, yeah, I'm sure we can do what.
But that doesn't
make
change
Phil-
the tax rate though.
No.
No.
You can play with all the contingency money and balance fund all you want. You're still not lowering the taxes to the residents.
But my feeling, and I know you disagree with me, is with everything that's going on, with the cost of living, cost of services, our payroll to our people.
So we're going
it's
to increase
unrealistic.
it on our taxpayer too.
Well, it's unrealistic to try to meet all those obligations, and the only thing we got was a service organization. We provide a service. So to reduce it to the taxpayer, start cutting services. I'm not ready to do that just yet myself, so.
Now, there's some fat in there. There always is. You know it just as well as I do.
Other comments regarding the resolution? Okay, roll call vote, Terry.
Okay, we have Brennan, who is absent. Chartran,
Yes.
Dahlhoff,
Yes.
Fawcett is absent. Hathaway,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
I can change my
Coulter.
mind, Greg.
Coulter,
No.
Marahan,
Yes.
Motion is absent. Tabor,
Yes.
budget is adopted.
John, let the record show I wasn't bullheaded.
Okay,
That's what I was thinking.
Patty, I need the levy amount then to put in the resolution.
15,799,939.
Thank you. Okay, resolution 467 is assessing and levying the amount of tax called for in the budget, which is $15,799,939.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion. Roll call, Terry.
Chartran,
Yes.
Dahlhoff,
Yes.
Hathaway,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Coulter,
No.
Marahan,
Yes.
Tabor.
Yes.
$468 is to fix the date of public hearing on an addition to the ATV trail system.
Moved by Jerry, second by Larry. Discussion. Yeah.
Larry,
This is when we accepted some of the high market trail that were there. They hadn't been seekered, so they were seekered, and this re-accepts them, so to speak, after the seeker had been done. They had never been seekered before. So the trails were
but the
already,
seeker's all done on these.
everything, yeah.
So we've already voted to accept these, is that what you said, Larry? Previously?
Yes.
Did I vote yes?
Wait a minute, let me clarify that, Jack.
We haven't accepted them yet as part of the ATV trail system. They were high marker wheelers trails. They're now county trails. As such, we're required to do seekers. So that's what we're doing. This is to set the public hearing to review the seeker and accept them into our trail system. So you get one more chance to say no, Phil.
Generally speaking, how many miles does this add to our tree? Yeah, doesn't have to be exact.
That's probably a half a mile with these, this grouping.
All six of these? There's two different.
No, there's two different sets. Both are about a half mile.
Other comments? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Fixing date of public hearing on an addition to the ATV trail system.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does anyone have any other business come before the meeting tonight? Motion to adjourn? Moved by Larry, second by Greg. in favor?
Looking at me for,